Well, we've rescued Dosan, so I think it's about time we go back and see what he was up to in his younger days.
Who's this Steve you keep talking about? Is a Steve edible?
It was, 50 years ago that I paid a visit to that fortress outside Tabriz. The only place on Earth where the plants that make our tattoo ink will bloom.
Who's that damn kid reusing cutscene assets again?
We would watch over there.
Get off my lawn, you're trampling my flowers!
In return, they would guard our plants. But in time, they learned of
So
the true
this is
value of
kind of a more in-depth explanation of the relationship between the Azai clan and these Middle Eastern bandits who are kind of, I guess, protecting the Sumi. So here we go. He has the Path of Wisdom. Dosan plays a little differently than Steve does. For one thing, he has a non-lethal takedown. He just refuses to use a sword.
I never carried a sword.
He's just too cool for school. Refuses to use one.
Back then I could bring down anyone with my bare hands.
Also, much like the Path of Might, he can go into focus mode, but it will not stop time. So you'll notice there's that little dizzy icon above all the bodies now. And that's because the enemies are unconscious. And that actually does have a gameplay effect. So, for example, we're going to have an enemy come up over here. And the enemy is going to find the body, and instead of raising an alert, it's going to kind of work like Metal Gear, where the enemy is just going to wake up.
He's here.
So, yeah, it kind of works like in MGS2, where, you know, a tranquilized guard would just wake up his buddy. And we got the achievement Back to Bed with You, where an enemy who has been woken up gets put back to sleep.
He was kind of a badass as a young man.
Yeah, he's pretty hard to play as, but very satisfying. And as far as I know, enemies who are unconscious will stay unconscious indefinitely until they are woken up by another guard. And he sort of has a variation of the Leap of Faith. Doesn't really quite work the same way. Of course, Dosan can still kill enemies. He just needs to be a bit more creative about it.
I was an artist back in the day.
Damn kids don't appreciate the meaning of a good tackle.
We had 1,001 uses for the environment, Steve. Are you listening to me?
500 artifacts actually meant something back in my day.
Dusk moths. Perfect for creating shadows without arousing suspicion.
So Dosan doesn't have anyone like Aura to help him. Instead, he just sort of he narrates all of his all of his stuff in flashback. Basically, dusk moths have two purposes. One for well, they don't destroy lights. They cover lights without actually destroying them. They can also serve as really pinpoint targeted smoke bombs.
That is really cool.
So there you go, that's our seal.
This is really well done.
I had to do a bit of a more conspicuous cut than usual there, just because of this game's this level has a pretty good checkpoint system for casual play, not so much for editing though. And of course, it still has the same binary light system that Steve uses. Yeah, so dust moths can basically work under the same principle as smoke bombs when they're used on enemies. So here's something really fun. We got these crushers on the screen here. And for some reason when you use a crusher on an enemy, it counts as a knockout and not a kill. I don't know why. It looks like it should kill them.
He's gonna wake up so... Yeah, no,
but,
don't... No.
But,
don't,
if you do this... That's a kill!
I love it.
But it doesn't matter how many times you crush him on the bottom, though. That will never kill the guy on the bottom.
He's gonna wake up with a crick. I better not disturb him.
I know a few good chiropractors I could refer him to. So I went up top, and then I realized it was the same fucking way going down to the bottom. It definitely was not a mistake. I just needed to be thorough.
Back in my day, 100% completion meant something.
I had to fill out every single map square, even when it used a dynamic map system without squares.
You kids never played Symphony of the Night.
So Dosan can use Hangman's Hymn. Or no, sorry, he can't use Hangman's Hymn, but he can use the grappling attack to cause fear. I've forgotten the names of the attacks. Basically, he can only do the knockout, and that counts as a terrorizing move, as opposed to, you know, if he had just seen the body on the ground, for instance, it wouldn't have done that. Also, I don't know if you noticed there, he bonked himself on the head as he was recoiling back. That's something I haven't really showed off yet. So this is something I keep trying to do, and I do on at the very end of the video, which is to get an enemy to kill his unconscious buddy with friendly fire when the guard is terrorized, which is possible to do. I end up doing it at the end of this video, but it takes a while. They actually do accommodate for that. I originally thought that I could bring this body with me, but there's a not quite an invisible wall, but something else here.
And shadow. Stand still too long, and you would feel the scorpions picking at your toes.
Scorpions? What now?
Also, that apparently counted as a lethal fall.
Dropped him on his head.
We were starving back then. We needed every point we could get. I had to feed 5 grandchildren with those honor seals.
You cannot hide from...
Don't question me. I had grandchildren when I was 30. Ninja breed at a very early age. You should know that, Steve.
Uphill both ways. Well, the Sakura were blooming. Buck naked, 30 below weather.
Well, the butt naked part was optional, but to be honest, I kind of liked it that way.
It was freeing.
So this is kind of a glitch that happens when you do that leap of faith attack from the front. It'll never count as an alert, but it'll just still play a couple of bars of the alert music, and the icon will appear, but it will never actually count.
Smug little monkey. You reach for the highest plum, but your grip is weak.
This was my other objective. I was trying to grab select excerpts from the Bandits AO3 account. They were, I don't know where I was going with that joke. I'll think of something better later. Dust moths are great for ambushing, as you can see there. And just like in the previous episode, we can use the indirect kill to kill the unconscious enemy, and also use the body to set off the trap that we would have had to have set off ourselves. There's another enemy over here. Now, he cannot use Bat's Prey either. Basically, Leap of Faith is the only upgrade attack that you can chain into into the knockout. There's no challenge room either. Okay, so here we go. The fungal spores.
We discovered the fungus the first time we came to Debris. In the right hands, it's deadly and contagious. The plants grew in an ancient conservatory. But to reach them, I had to sneak through the old fortress where the bandits were holed up.
Yeah, so they basically work as a variant on the ravenous insects.
It was built centuries ago by some Shah or other.
But then again, I never paid much attention to Iranian history.
Bandits didn't know about half of them. But I did. I knew where to find the 3 levers that armed the traps. The first would
and the arms that levered the traps, too.
The second would fill all.
So in this level, we have 3 non-linear objectives we can complete in any order, which is something I don't like. In the previous level, that kind of worked that way, but the level design sort of shoehorned you into a specific
Path.
into a specific path, unless you really went out of your way. Here, you could take you can arm any of the 3 traps in any order, and it actually does have something of a consequence as to what order you arm the traps. So we're gonna go to this one on the right first. Oh no! Oh, never mind, it just dropped down. Oh, those foolish bandits. You know, sometimes I wonder why those Iranians don't just use chopsticks like normal people. Alright, so I know that I'm gonna leave in a death at some point. I just can't remember. I think it's here.
The floors gave way below me. Knives flew by my ankles. I can't believe I never once feared I would die.
1, because it's funny, and 2, because it's and 2, because it's unique. This is the only time that Steve or Dosan can get bisected by anything, and I think it's meant to be a reference. Because Clay worked on, you remember N, right? The browser game that eventually became a DS game, and then, so that was developed by a Toronto studio. But Clay, who are based in Vancouver, they also worked on the XBLA version of N+.
Oh, yeah.
So N+ was originally on the DS, and then it got a version called N++. And Clay worked on the Xbox Live Arcade version of N+. So I think that specific death animation is meant to be a reference to them, to N+, because the ninja in that game would always get bisected in some way or another.
Oh, he died in the most horrible ways.
So anyway, while we were talking about N, we armed that other trap, which means that every single pot in the entire map will explode now if we try to hide in it.
Pottery Barn hates me. I don't know why.
Well, I do know why, but I just tell the sales clerk that I don't. So this is how the fungal spores work. It's an instant kill initially, however, that's only part of what it does. But in order to show off the other part, I have to get this other guard over here. So we gotta lure him over. It's gonna take a bit of work, but I think it'll be worth it. So first of all, we gotta get him to notice this body. Normally he's not supposed to be over here, but I think we can do it. So he's over here, and as soon as he goes down that ledge and goes over the body, he's gonna die.
Oh.
So when you put down the fungal spore, that essentially sets a trap, so that anytime someone investigates the body, it's going to kill them. It only works once.
That fortress had stopped the worst armies the world could throw at it. But I just...
And also the French.
They farted in my general direction.
Well, they were cheese-eating surrender monkeys after all. So that's something else that that was in the previous episode. We didn't really talk about it. Anytime that any enemy hears an explosion, they will always taunt you about it. It's another way for to make the bandits seem more intelligent than they are.
No sign of him here.
Interesting.
But it'll also happen even when one of their friends gets exploded. Like they'll taunt you about it even when it's clearly an instance of friendly fire, or I guess they just instantly assume that you set it off. So here's a really cool way to get through this trap that I found. So first of all, we're going to use the dusk moths to sort of sneak under here. We're going to set off the trap in the pot, and that's going to kill them both.
Show yourself.
Oh my god, I love it.
Yeah, this has some really great level design. This is my second favorite level in the game after the level in the previous episode. Alright, so here we go. Trap number 2. So basically, all of the vents now have spikes in them that will activate after a certain amount of time. So you have to run through all the vents. So that's another good thing about the non-lethal attack. It has one hell of a range.
Oh yeah, he jumps right at him.
That's another thing. Shielded men cannot be attacked from the front while using the pounce attack. But thankfully I had some fungal spores.
He's here.
And I think I managed to kill a guy. I killed 2 different guys off screen there.
I was such a badass, I didn't even have to see him.
It wasn't an accident. Trust me, I just didn't give a fuck. It was all intentional, all part of the plan. Alright, so here's a better example of what the fungal spores could do. Since we didn't really get a clear shot of it last time. So there you go. It's a pretty standard death animation. It just, sometimes the timer makes it so that if an enemy is running, it sometimes takes a little while. And I almost ran into the vents. I mean, you can outrun the spikes. You just have to be really quick.
Are they everywhere, or are they just at the entrance of the vent?
They are everywhere. There are points where the game will checkpoint you inside events, and those are like the only instances where the game will give you a bit of a grace period.
Gotcha.
Like there. Yeah, you could use the vents to do indirect kills now. Yeah, I did a bit of editing to fade in between shots, but you do have to run a bit there if you're using that vent. Thankfully, though, you don't actually lose any points by dying. Otherwise, I would be real trouble for having to cut in between takes.
Someone is here.
Because, you know, like losing 100 points for every death, that would be, you know, I'd pretty much have to do everything in one take otherwise.
Clear.
Oh yeah, it's clear. Definitely clear. Look at how clear it is.
Clear.
100% clear.
I heard that.
No, you didn't.
The last trap was armed. It was time to infiltrate the conservatory.
Maybe this time those bastards would finally teach me how to play the piano.
But we will find him.
I asked them nicely with the blade to their throat, and they just said no. So once all 3 traps are armed, they will their patrols will get a little more aggressive. but only slightly.
Are you up there? He got someone!
I feel like that's a bit of a more of a wrestling move that the that particular tackle is based on, but I don't really know my moves that well.
I was deep into lucha.
I have no idea what he got distracted by there.
Yeah, that's
a little strange.
Yeah, the AI is usually pretty consistent, but there are a couple of points where, you know, even I get flabbergasted by it. I know you can't go up there no matter how many times I try. Alright, let's take care of these snipers. There's a switch at this point which I had forgotten about, and it took me a while to realize that I was missing something, because the objective had been completed and yet there was an extra switch I was missing somehow. So I just had to fart around figuring out what the hell was going on, and I figured it out eventually. So yeah, as you can see there, you can eventually outrun those. I tried to forget that part of my adventure didn't happen.
all part of the plan.
If I ran around like an idiot, it was only part of the ruse. Back to a little more open spaces here. So none of it was only within that one building that the three traps are set. So nothing else here is so none of the other traps are here.
I think I see where that room's going now.
Yeah. There is another entrance through the back though, but you could just barely jump over there, that switch.
You only climb high because your hard monkey skull won't crack in a fall.
But on the plus side, you can breathe for 10 minutes underwater. Also, I left in that death. Once again, just because I thought it was funny.
All part of the plan.
Thankfully, they cloned me back at the Azai clan, and a substitute was dispatched to Tabriz as quickly as possible.
In the conservatory, the chief had stationed his best, bravest men.
His least cowardly forces.
Terrified mess. I had a choice. Terrify the chief's men, but leave them alive to tell the story. No doubt with great exaggeration. Or let the fear spread with blood and precision, leaving just a few terrified survivors.
I felt as though a designer were trying to experiment with their formula and give me some more options. So we're going to use that crusher again.
I love the crushers.
And there's actually a seal in this area.
I could drop them on the bandits.
Which is to terrify an enemy by leaving a dead body with a crusher. Like so. And then leave it with a crusher again. So we're going to be using the terrify objective for this one. We can theoretically do both, but unfortunately you need 16 enemies to knock out or kill. That takes a little long, and this video is going to be long enough anyway.
Yeah, that seems a little excessive.
So we're gonna go with terrify, but we're gonna try and show as many ways as possible anyway to kill or knock out these various guards.
When your fur turns gray, that light, brave heart will leave you. Mock death while you can.
I just put them on auto terrify. They should be fine.
I also believe this is the map where I finally get a terrorized guard to kill an unconscious guard with friendly fire, which I think should have been an achievement. I'm surprised it's not. There are DLC achievements.
It always made me sad when I hung the body in front of his own comrades. Sad when they saw he was gone, and sadder when they were too scared to care.
There are so many bits of like situational dialogue that Dosan has for doing almost anything and everything. It's pretty crazy.
They really had some fun with him.
Yeah. So we only have 2 guards left here to terrify. And I know exactly what to do here. Yeah, 16 knockout guards. That's gets a little excessive. You know, as much fun as I had during this sequence, the B button could get a little testy. Context-sensitive bullcrap was as annoying back then as it was today.
I'm imagining Steve listening to this. B button? The hell is he talking about?
Have you ever heard of this thing called the fourth wall, Steve? Well, I'm about to break that thing right over your ass.
It was done. I had delivered a message to the chief and, well, we never had trouble with him again.
That's a nice full-motion video you have there. It'd be a shame if anything were to happen to it.
Curious about the book that I had saved. I studied it and mastered its use. Nobody knows more of its secrets than I do.
Which is why I keep using it on hapless students, watching them drive themselves insane before committing suicide. It happens every single time, and I'm very proud every time it happens. It just fills my heart with joy when I see these young students plunge their blades into their stomachs.
He's an artist. What can I say? Leaderboard error!
Yeah, I'm playing offline in order to get backup saves. So there you go. That's the that is my second favorite level in the game after the last one with the bandits in the previous episode. It's not as though it goes like severely downhill. They're still good levels. It's just we've reached the peak and we're just doing like more of a slow, very gradual decline in quality. That's still pretty good.
I feel like we've had at least as much fun, if not more, than Clay did with Dosan.
Yeah. It's great. And I'm kind of curious to see like what characters he played in Shank, because he, like I said, he's one of the voice actors who was carried over from Shank. Everyone except for Aura played someone in Shank.
The more episodes we do, the more I love this game.
Yep. Dozan's a great character.
Oh,
and it's going to be great seeing him around for even more episodes.